Hello and welcome to another edition of What Does the Giraffe Say Media with me, Kathleen Retourne. We're an organisation that aims to connect people in conservation by holding live interviews on social media. Today you will see I'm very happy because I am joined by Nachamada Geoffrey and he is the WCS Nigeria Yankari Project Manager. So Nacha, if I could hand over to you, can you give us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in conservation and your passion for wildlife?
Yes, please. Good evening. I'm very excited to be here as well. I joined conservation while I was in the university. I went to college to be a physician, to become a medical doctor. And then I was fortunate to attend some intro classes to conservation biology, which really piqued my interest. And I felt that was where my true passion was. Unlike many African conservationists that are very fortunate to grow around protected areas or to have parents who work in the conservation career, I did not have both. So I discovered conservation by myself while I was in the university trying to study to become a medical doctor. And I became really passionate and I changed my mind. The family was not very happy, but I was happy. And since I was happy, they allowed me to follow my passion. That was how I joined conservation. I switched to have a major in natural.
Oh, we seem to maybe have a bit of a connection issue here. We've had a few issues with the Wi-Fi that side, so hopefully he'll be able to join us back in a minute. So Nacha, if you can hear this, if you can just log back in on the same link, and hopefully we can continue this conversation. But for those of you who are not aware, WCS in Nigeria very focused in turning around conservation. One of their rangers was actually just awarded a Tusk Award for the work that they're doing. There's incredible work that they're having done, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get Nacha back in so he can tell us more about it. So hopefully, if you could just bear with us 1 second. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions that you've been thinking about that you would like to put to Nacha, why don't you put it in the comments section now? And then while we're talking, I'll be able to bring Nacha back in and hopefully we'll be able to put those questions to him. In the meanwhile, let me show you some pictures that we have of the work that they're doing. So you'll be able to see here. So they're doing a lot of work for the communities and in particular with conservation education. Alongside that, they're doing a lot of work. This is one of the winners of the Tusk Awards for the Ranger of the Year. And then as well, we have some work here that they're doing where they're working alongside the communities and helping with the collaring of elephants. And this is so that they're able to be tracked so then they can be monitored just to keep them safe and also to see their movements in terms of science and data. And then the next slide we have is some of the elephants at the park. So not many people are aware of the incredible abundance of wildlife that is around in Nigeria. And in particular in this park, it was an area that was under a lot of threat at one point. But now we're seeing, thanks to the dedicated work of these rangers, we're seeing that there's an improvement of the wildlife coming back and being safe. Okay, let me just reach out for 1 second to see how Nacha's getting on. If you could bear with me. These are the delights of doing live interviews, especially when you're holding them around the world. You never know what's going to happen. So hopefully we can get Nacha back on. Worst case scenario, what we can do is we'll reschedule for another day and hopefully the Wi-Fi connections will be better. But thank you everyone for tuning in and please bear with us to see if he can come on. We're getting some lovely comments coming through from all the different areas that you're watching from. So we're getting people coming from Nigeria, another one from Nigeria, Florida, Ohio. It's always so lovely to see all the different audiences that we have and all the different people that are watching from around the world. And we really appreciate the support that you guys are doing. For those of you who are not aware of What Does the Giraffe Say Media, we are an organisation that connects people in conservation by holding live interviews and allowing people to see the incredible work that people are doing around the world. Okay, so I can see Nacha's coming back in, so we'll bring him back in. Nacha, you're back.
Yes, my apologies. I think it's the internet. Maybe it's, yeah, I don't know.
That's okay. It happens. Don't worry. That's the delights of doing live interviews.
Yeah.
So before you went, I was keen to find out if there was an actual, what was the trigger was that turned you into conservation. Was there a story that you heard or something that you had seen that made you think this is the career for me?
Yes, there was something. I was fortunate to grow up to go to school in an environment with lots of expatriates.
Okay, I think we've lost him again.
Hi.
Yep.
Yes. So while I was going to school, we had some primates around the university.
Yep, keep going, Nacha. We can hear you.
Okay, great. There were some tantalus monkeys around the university when I was in school, and the way the expatriates who were doing very well, paid very well, looked at the primates was very different from the way the locals, very poor people, looked at them. So there was this misconception that, oh, these poor people don't like primates, they don't like wildlife, not knowing that some of those guys are very hungry. When they see you feeding those monkeys apples, they feel really bad because they can't get those for their kids or for themselves. So I really felt there was a huge gap between how non-Africans look at conservation sometimes and how the typical African who has grown up in a rural area who knows the plight of their people looked at it. I felt they were not in the shoes of those people. Sometimes that's why they would say such stories. For example, where I work now, we will sometimes arrest poachers that have come to kill wildlife, but the guy probably is in a very hard situation. Maybe the wife is sick and he has no money to take her to the hospital or to get any medication. So the closest quick cash for him is to kill an antelope or to kill a guinea fowl and take that person to the hospital. So that was the story. It was those monkeys that made me feel I think these expatriates don't understand what the real problem of conservation is. It's not just about the wildlife, it's about the people as well. If we don't take care of the people, then we are more or less wasting our time on the wildlife because we interdepend on one another and we have to look at both at the same time rather than looking at one as more important than the other one.
I
So that
hun-
was what piqued my conscience to say, I think I need to go and study conservation so that I can tell the story in a different way. I can be able to make my people understand that, yes, wildlife is important, but we understand your problems are important as well, and we can look at both issues concurrently. That was the story that changed my life. And I said, I have to go and study conservation and become a conservationist.
And we're so pleased that you have, because you're doing an incredible job. And I think you're quite right. It's very easy for people who aren't living in those countries to come at it from one angle, but it's a very complicated system. And you're correct that the communities do need to have that involvement as well, which kind of feeds nicely into my next question. When you first started your role as the manager when at the park, there was a lot of disgruntlement and there was a lot of people that weren't feeling like their voices were being heard. How did you then kind of change that narrative and make them feel like they're part of conservation as critical stakeholders?
One of the major things I did was to spend time in those rural communities to eat the same food with them, spend time in their markets, uh, make them feel like that we are the same and I'm here to listen to their problems. And then I gradually started workshops and meetings that would involve all the important stakeholders to come and tell us what their problems are. You have to listen to them first before you can find a solution. Before then, nobody even listened to them. The park was all about generating revenue and spending the revenue right inside the park, forgetting that the communities living right at the edge of the reserve are very important for the sustenance of the reserve. So we started workshops with the community leaders, uh, involvement for children surrounding Yankari. I realized children from neighboring states would come to Yankari for excursions to come and do game viewing. But the children right at the edge of the reserve could not afford to come here because they don't have the funding. So we have to work with our partners to get some money to be able to bring the children who live right at the edge of the reserve for free. And one of the things we did was the vehicles they used were hired from their communities. So some of those resources went directly into their communities. They had a free ride, they got free lunches, they got free customized shirts, free books, and they went on safari to be able to see the wildlife that they could see. And over time, that changed the way even the children looked at rangers in the communities. Before then, the rangers were viewed as policemen who are just here to attack, who are just here to arrest the poachers. But when we started the school visit program, the children really liked it, and the story changed. And I would always smile when I go into some of the villages and see these kids with the shirts that we've given them all around the villages. That really changed the narrative. And some of the school heads, the school teachers told me the enrollment rate in their schools increased because many more children want to have a free visit to Yankari. They want to have free lunch, free books, and free shirts. So that involvement of the communities. We also worked really closely with the women. We gave out wood stoves, efficient fuel wood stoves to the women that they said cut down about 60% on the amount of firewood they have to use, and it emitted less smoke. So even the women started liking the job, the children liked the job. I also started an elephant guardian program in 2016. One of the big problems we have encountered is elephants going out to raid people's farms, and they are not compensated, and they are not even heard. So one of the things we did was to get some funding. We got funds from Tusk Trust in the UK, and we worked with the chiefs from the communities that had the most attacks. So we got the chiefs to nominate 18 people who work as elephant guardians. We train them on safe and effective ways to chase away elephants. We pay them monthly allowances. We bought cell phones. We provide monthly airtime credit. The the enrollment of the elephant guardians did not stop elephant crop raiding, but the communities now feel it's a shared responsibility about who should chase away the elephants. So they now feel they are also responsible for chasing away the elephants because they are paid to do it. And we did not select those people, they were selected by their community. So the involvement of the women, the kids, the men has really changed the narrative. And when I do all of these community engagements, I carry the rangers along so that the communities will see them as good people, not just people who arrest poachers in the reserve. So this really changed our story, and things have really turned around over the years.
I mean, I know that when I was doing my research into the work that you guys are doing, everyone was very complimentary about you being a big part of changing that narrative, because you were actually going out there and listening and talking and helping, rather than just lecturing and saying this is how it has to be done. Have you seen a change in attitude then from the communities? Do they now see wildlife in a different way?
Yes, we have seen a significant change. The rate of elephant poaching due to before WCS took over 20 elephants were killed by poachers annually. But since we took over in 2014, we have only recorded 4 elephants that had signs of gunshot. So reprisal attacks and the way the communities look at wildlife has changed. In the past, when the antelopes wander and go out on people's farms, they shoot them. But now you would see the communities come together to chase them back, and they call me to say, your antelopes were out, but we've chased them back. They are safe now. So things have really changed.
I guess
Yeah.
that's testament to the
And
work you're
even the
doing.
way they look at the rangers when they go out into the villages, or when I go out myself. In the past, they were not very friendly. They were a bit hostile. But when we go out now, everybody wants us to eat in their houses. They want us to sit under the tree and chat and spend time. It has really changed. They now
Uh,
see us as partners rather than as just policemen who are here to arrest the offenders. and they see Yankari as their property rather than, we've kind of tried to make them understand Yankari belongs to you. We are only custodian for you people. So we have to work together to keep this for you.
I absolutely love that. We've got a question coming through from Winnie. Hi, Winnie. Always lovely to see her name popping up. She's a regular watcher of the show. And she's asked, saying, you've certainly educated these children, which is wonderful as they are our future. But then she's also asking, have you tried beehives on fencing to keep the elephants from ruining crops?
We got funding from the Elephant Crisis Fund, from Save the Elephants. We are setting up beehives at the moment. We have also tried watchtowers, all sponsored by Save the Elephants from the Elephant Crisis Fund. We are currently recruiting the farmers that will be trained on the beehives, but we've already started the watchtowers. So yes, we are working on that at the moment. We already have the funds. We've recruited people. We are working on the training now.
Excellent. So it's a case of watch this space and soon it will be happening.
Yes.
And then another thing that I discovered when I was, again, doing my research on you is a lot of people said that you also helped not just change the community mindset, but also helped to change ranger mindset as well. There had been talks that people have been feeling a bit undervalued. So what problems and issues did you find when you spoke with them? And then how did you then spin that around and make them feel valued?
One of the things I realized when we started was the rangers were always considered as bush people, second-class citizens. And when, for instance, when the staff bus would drive from the gate into the base camp, all the hotel staff had to enter the bus and the rangers would only use the boot of the vehicle or the space that was remaining because they were not as important to the system. They were not kitted, they were not trained, they were not properly motivated. So I think over time, it kind of went down in their mind like we are really not a priority for this system. So one of the things I did was to ensure that we have dedicated vehicles only to carry the rangers when they are coming to work. The vehicles goes around to pick them from their houses and it takes them back. Secondly, the barrack where the rangers lived was dilapidated. It was built in the 70s. It was old, in a very bad shape. So we were able to get some funding and build a world-class ranger barrack for the rangers with dedicated 247 solar power, with running water. So we've kind of changed and we're able to provide international standard training for the rangers. We worked with conservation outcomes from South Africa. They've been here about 5 times now. So the rangers got proper training, proper kit and equipment, and they get good allowances, field ration, and we provide bonuses for the best performing rangers. But we also punish the rangers who are not doing the right thing so that it's going to serve as detriment for the others. Over time, we've seen the narrative change. Interestingly, we have one of the Yankari Rangers this year won the Tusk Africa Ranger Award of 2021. I took him to London to meet Prince William to get the award. It was an exciting moment for me. I felt like we've done it all. It's the first West African to get the award, and it was a big story. All thanks to we were able to build their confidence, to raise their self-esteem, and to also look at the problem from their perspective. I have visited almost all their houses, ate with them, slept with them in the same tent. I go out on patrols with them. So they see me as one of their own rather than just as a boss who gives instructions and can't eat the type of food we eat. And some of the things I did for the field rations, for example, I have allowed their wives to supply all the field rations we use. So some of those revenue goes directly into their wives' pockets. So even the wives now see the benefit of their husbands doing this job, and we have some of those revenue directly go back into the immediate communities. Before now, all the field rations were brought from the state capital, which means nothing was going into the poor communities. But now most of the money we spend on field rations go directly into the communities, and most of the field rations supplied by their wives. So they really take their time to make sure their husbands are getting good quality food and they get money in return.
I think that's such a great initiative. I think that's probably the first time I've heard someone say about doing that. We're involving the wives and the money going back in. It's a really great idea.
They
So
are usually neglected. The wives are usually neglected, forgetting that they are the housekeepers when the husbands spend so many days and weeks, sometimes months, patrolling away from their families. So the wives are very important to the work that we do, and I think everybody should consider them important as well.
and you touched on it earlier about the Tusk Conservation Award. So what was it that made them become a winner? What made them stand out above everyone else? And congratulations as well.
Thank you. I think a few things made Suleiman stand out, and the Yankari team. The award wasn't an individual work; it's a demonstration of the success the team has recorded. We were able to cut down on corruption in the ranger force, which is a big problem. If you know Nigeria very well, it's not an easy terrain to walk, especially to be able to cut down on the rate of corruption, to be able to build confidence, to be able to build morale, to cut down on elephant poaching, elephant ivory trafficking. It's a big problem in Nigeria. So working with rangers to be able to cut down on elephant poaching, it's really a great sign that Nigeria can do this from the grassroots. If the rangers out in the field can do it, I believe our custom officers, our security personnel can also do that at the borders to ensure that Nigeria is not used as a hub for trafficking of illegal wildlife products. So the things that made him stand out, I think, is our success of cutting down elephant poaching in the reserve. After being trained over the years, Suleiman has become a champion. He is currently in Cross River State training other rangers. He has mastered the art of ranger training and he's become our trainer now. He's been to over 5 protected areas in Nigeria now training other people. So he's a fast learner, he's non-corruptible, and he's been able to pass down the skills that he has acquired to other rangers, which I think is very important. It's going to help us to make better use of our very limited resources rather than always getting 2, 3 expatriates. We are now only able to have just one expatriate, and Suleiman is our other expert.
That's fantastic. What are the common issues that you're seeing in Nigeria when it comes to the wildlife crime? And then kind of following from that, how do you combat that?
I think Nigeria has multiple issues. It's not just the wildlife. Security is also a big issue in Nigeria. But as conservationists, we're able to see the wildlife more openly. I think there is lots of problem in the country, and the wildlife is hugely neglected because it doesn't bring in money like oil and other natural resources that Nigeria is blessed to have. So I think that has made the government and the system to neglect investment in wildlife. Unfortunately, wildlife has, apart from having its intrinsic value, I think protected areas increasingly are becoming security places of security concern because we've seen armed groups, even in Nigeria, like in the Sambisa forest, take over a game reserve because it was neglected over the years. So I think it's largely a lack of interest from the government, lack of proper investments, and lack of understanding that if we do the right thing over the years, we can also cash in on wildlife conservation.
And is wildlife crime taken seriously in Nigeria, or is there more work that needs to be done to strengthen penalties here?
I think we've seen more arrests being made by customs and other security personnel at the border. However, we don't know how those arrests end. I think they are doing better than before, but I believe a lot needs to be done, and we have the potential to do a lot more.
So we've got some questions coming through as we've been talking. We've got a question coming through from Emma Louise Edwards. Hi, Emma, and she's asking, how do you evaluate the success of the community engagement?
If I would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate the success as maybe 9.9. The community is really excited about the community engagement. The interesting thing about the community engagement is when you help 50 communities, you have 200 other communities that tells you we need this help as well. So it's never enough for the communities. That is my only challenge with the community engagement. But so far, we we don't bring in a fresh idea on our own. We always sit down with the communities, discuss with them our ideas, and we listen to them as well, and we come to an agreement about what interventions are important and what they want to happen in their community. So I think ours, it's a bottom-up approach. They understand what we want to do and they have a buy-in before we implement it. We don't just borrow ideas from places and implement it in the communities. So they are usually part of the story. So they see it as their own story.
And is there a system that you have in place saying, okay, well, by the end of the year, we want X, Y, and Z to have happened?
In theory, yes, but practically we are hugely underfunded. So I have a long list of to do for the communities, but in terms of funding, it's usually very difficult to access serious funding for the community. But things are changing, but it's slow. I believe a lot can be done, and there's so much that we can do helping this community, which in turn are the guardians for the wildlife, because all the crime and all the problems we encounter in the protected areas come through the community. So if you are able to take good care of the communities, they would become a shield. They won't be a problem, and they won't allow outsiders to use their communities as a gateway to destroy wildlife. And in turn, we are humans. We need to help other human beings.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's not just about the wildlife. You have to look after each other. We all need to coexist together.
Yeah.
We've got a question coming through from Leslie, and she's asking, have you trained ex-poachers to become rangers for conservation?
Yes, we have some ex-poachers that are current rangers. However, I am sometimes skeptical about just recruiting poachers, because it's like recruiting all the thieves in your community to be policemen, and all the good guys who have never stolen are neglected because you have never stolen. I'm not going to give you a job.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a double-edged sword. For an ex-poacher who is truly converted and passes the training to become a ranger, yes, those are good guys to be rangers.
And then if someone's watching back home and they're wanting to be able to support you guys, you mentioned earlier that, funding is always an issue. What's the best way for people to do that?
I think WCS is headquartered in New York, and I think WCS have a donation page. Unfortunately, I haven't checked that, but WCS has a Facebook page, or you can go onto onto the WCS Nigeria page and you can support.
And is there other things people can do? So if they they don't have the funds to be able to support, we've got a question asking if people can go out as volunteers and help your organization. Is there an option for that?
If people are around here, yes, there are opportunities to help, to come and help, spend time with the kids in schools. But I think anywhere you are, you can support conservation. Even the decisions about what to eat, what to wear, what electronics to use, all of that have cumulative effects on the environment. And it's not just about Yankari, it's about all of our remaining wildlife and wild places.
And then another question's coming through, and they're asking, is there any database about wildlife status for most of our endemic species? And is there also a nexus between restoring the forest ecosystem to help protect these wildlife?
I am not aware about a database in Nigeria. I assume this question is coming, it's specific to Nigeria. I'm not aware if there's a database for all of our endemic species. However, I know there are many organizations that are working to protect wildlife and wild places, including forests. WCS works in Cross River, in different landscapes in Cross River State, and we are doing an amazing job there. We are currently training rangers, community rangers, and even rangers from the National Park Service. So there's so much we are doing, and WCS has also invested hugely in cocoa farm, in sustainable cocoa farming and different other agricultural ways in Cross River State. We are also doing lots of work with the communities and with school kids around Cross River State. So yes, WCS is doing lots of work, but there is a lot more to be done.
For sure, there's always more that needs to be done.
That could be done, especially in our rainforest and in the south, is talk to our people to get alternative options to bushmeat. it's no more sustainable for us to continue to kill wildlife. We should look at sustainable options that will be good replacement for wildlife.
Nacha, I've absolutely loved our conversation. I've only got one more question left. If you're watching back home and you would like to pop a question to him, please do just put it in the comments section and I will be able to do that for you. For me, I always like to end things on a positive note. I mean, the work that you guys have been doing is absolutely incredible. So I was wondering if that you have a favorite success story.
Yes, my favorite success story is the most recent story. For a Yankari Ranger to win the Africa Ranger Award, for me, it's my favorite success story. I always like to shine the Rangers on the spotlight because they endanger their lives, they take the most risk, and they get the least pay. They spend most of their time out in the field away from their families. So for me, my favorite success story is having one of the rangers that I've trained to become the African Ranger for 2021.
And I guess that also means they become a bit of an inspiration for the next generation as well. They're seeing these people getting recognized and the work that you're doing is getting more respect globally. So hopefully that will inspire a future generation to come through and wanting to protect the wildlife and wild spaces. Do you think that is the situation you're seeing?
I think that is the situation. Since after the award, I've even seen some of my rangers here change in terms of their attitude. Many of them are more committed now. They are very serious. They are innovative because they see that there is a career and I could also be the next Africa Ranger. So I have seen things change. And even within Nigeria, I believe this award is not just for Yankari Rangers. This award is for Nigeria because it's the first Nigerian to get the award and the first West African. So I think this is really putting us on the spotlight there. But also, it means we need to step up our game and be on our toes because you shouldn't get this type of award and allow poachers to take over what you are doing. And this has served, and this should be an example to the other protected areas in Nigeria as well. We can do it. We have the potentials, and if we work together, there's a lot that we can achieve.
And we have a question coming through from David Peter, and he's asking, do you engage the community around Yankari on non-timber forest products?
Yes, we engage the communities on non-timber forest products. However, the communities around Yankari don't, unlike in other protected areas in Nigeria, like the Gashaka-Gumti National Park and the Cross River National Park, some of which, like the Gashaka-Gumti, you have communities inside who would use the resources. We are very lucky in Yankari. No communities live inside. So communities don't use the resources inside the reserve. They are only allowed to come and experience it. And in return, we try to get other investments. Like we are currently trying to get uh, toilets and safe drinking water in the communities. So we try to get some of these social amenities back to the communities. So I believe these are non-timber forest products. But either timber or non-timber, the communities don't extract resources because Yankari is relatively small. It's 2,244 kilometers squared. It could be finished in a few months if free access is allowed. But the communities now enjoy Yankari. Some of them told me 99% of the school children we hosted said they've never been to Yankari until the school visit program we started. So just that experience for many of them, it's enough use of the forest and the reserve.
I mean, I've absolutely loved talking with you. Your story is such a positive one and a way of turning it around and also just involving as many people as possible and in that way supporting conservation in that manner. So before we go, Nacha, is there anything that you would like to say before we say goodbye?
Yes, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to bring me here to meet other people who have interest in conservation and in the job that we are doing. And I would want to tell other people out there, Nigerians, that there is future, there is hope for wildlife conservation. And let's work together. Let's help these communities because they are the backbone for wildlife conservation. Without the poor communities, conservation is not going to survive because they live right at the edge of the reserve, and most of us live in towns and cities away. We only come to experience and we go back to our homes. So they are the future of conservation, and Rangers are the next on my list. Rangers are very important. Without them, we are not going to exist. So I would want people to understand that the communities are important, the rangers are very important, and we all can work together and change some of the decisions we are making. Like in Yankari, when we discovered that people were fast using firewood on their farms, and firewood and trees were being felled down to produce firewood, that was why we introduced the efficient wood stoves for the women, so that they can use less firewood. So people outside there should look at other ways you can support your environment or your community, and how we can conserve nature and make sustainable use of our natural heritage and resources.
Completely agree. And please do send out thanks to all your rangers for the work that they're doing. You're right, it's a hard job, it's away from home, tough conditions and very low pay. So we'd love for them to know that all the What Does the Giraffe Say media family are supporting them, and thank them very much for the hard work they do. Thank you everyone for watching back home. We've had some lovely comments as we've been talking, lots of positive feedback, lots of people from all around the world watching and supporting and cheering. So thank you very much. If you have liked it, please do give us a like or a comment or a share. The more people who see it, the more work we can do to raise awareness and increase engagement and help the people that are doing the work to protect conservation. But from me, thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.